Good morning. This is the Eager Beaver Show.
You are listening to a True North Eager Beaver Media Incorporated podcast. The True North Eager Beaver podcasts are proudly brought to you by our founding sponsors, the Miss V Mysteries from Corvid Moon Publishing, your source for science fiction, fantasy, and cozy mysteries featuring a broad diversity of characters. PsychicTarot.ca, book your tarot reading and unlock your spiritual journey. And the Pepper Master, hot pepper sauces made from farm-fresh ingredients to thrill your taste buds and expand your mind. Well, all right. What the heck is that? I have no idea what's going on. Hold on, kids and cubs. I'll try to fix that. There we go. That was really weird, kids and cubs. I have no idea what happened there. That was really, really weird. Sorry for those who are listening. Now I've got really wild hair because I had to take the headphones out. But the show started, and there was only like this fuzzy black thing appearing on the screen. And I'm not talking about me, because I am fuzzy and part black, but no, it wasn't me. That was a little weird. Okay. Well, good morning and hello, kids and cubs, and welcome to season 5 and episode number, I believe it is 816 of the Daily Beaver Morning Show. Oh, Canada. Always 100% Canadian. Today, recording day, is Tuesday, December 23rd, 2025, which means only 2 more sleeps until Santa Beaver comes down your chimneys with a whole bunch of gifts of, toothpicks and lumber and popsicle sticks and all a bunch of stuff that you can all use. Kids and cubs, if you are, into the beaver Christmas spirit. For some reason, again, I am looking at my screen and there's still weird stuff happening. Okay, there we go. For some reason, the YouTube screen that I monitor just to make sure every now and then that things are going well had completely frozen. So I thought I wasn't broadcasting there for a second. All right. Um, you know what? Let's try this again uh, because I am having a little difficulty this morning. Good morning and hello, kids and cubs, and welcome to season 5 and episode number 816 of the Daily Beaver Morning Show. Oh, Canada, always 100% Canadian. Today, recording day is Tuesday, December 23rd, 2025, and it is another gray day here at the Beaver Lodge, but there is a little bit of snow, so maybe we will get a white Christmas after all. It was looking like we would have one, but then we got some warm weather over the past couple of days, and almost all of the snow on the ground here melted, and it was pretty thick. So I'm seeing just a couple of snowflakes starting to fall this morning. So maybe we will have a white Christmas after all. Only two more sleeps before Santa Beaver comes to town. Ho, ho, ho. Ha ha. I am your host, the Eager Beaver, pronouns he, him, hey, Mr. Beaver, hey. And not with me, as usual, is my good friend, Mr. Grizzly. A big thank you goes to our podcast founding sponsors, the Pepper Master, the Miss V Mysteries from Corbin Moon Publishing, and Psychic Tarot.ca. And thank you so much for all of your support over the past few years. Uh, all right. Uh, yes, kids and cubs, I am back. First of all, I owe you great apologies for not being able to do a show yesterday. As you could tell, if you had watched the pubcast, I was a little under the weather, and it got much worse over the course of the weekend. Had a very bad fever and a flu come from it. And basically on Monday, I did not manage to get out of bed until 2 p.m. So, yeah, that didn't allow for a morning show. And sorry, was that on Monday or I can't remember now. Sunday. Sorry, on Sunday. I couldn't get up out of bed until 2 p.m., which means I couldn't go and retrieve the phone. For those of you who have been following my adventures, on Friday night, I went out for dinner, and because it was a very miserable night, very cold, with gusting winds, and such that sometimes the wind gusts in such a way that it feels like it's almost cutting you, and it was like that, and it was just very unpleasant. So I took a cab home back from the restaurant. And when I got home, there was somebody on the street that was screaming and yelling and seemed to be in some kind of distress. Um, Someone who was homeless. And I don't know what the backstory is. I can only make assumptions here, but I assumed that if this person had been outside all day, on a day that was pretty miserable. It probably had been the coldest day of the year so far, and again with some sharp winds, and had been out all day. And now we're at night, around 8 o'clock, 9 o'clock at night, and they clearly don't have a shelter for the evening, and the weather temperature is dropping and dropping and dropping, and it did drop pretty quickly, and the wind is not going down, and you've already been experiencing that all day. Um, e- that must be really, really hard on a body and on one's overall well-being and mental health and all that kind of stuff. So I can imagine. This is what I imagine, that someone could be in distress. So I got out of the cab. Um, I paid, got out of the cab, but we both the taxi driver and I were talking about that. Wow, it's like, the screaming, and it sounded like the person was in pain. Um, uh, and I thought, okay, well, I'll go up to my apartment and I'll call the non-emergency number, and I'll have some police officers or something like that, come and sort of do a drive-by and check up on the person and maybe bring them to some place, if they did need help. And that's when I realized that while we were talking about the person who was yelling and screaming and whatnot, I got distracted and I must have left the phone on the cab back seat. Um, so I was told originally that I would not be able to retrieve the phone until Monday because Lost and Found was closed for the weekend, which kind of surprised me because I would assume that Lost and Found for taxi cab would be very busy on the weekend because cell phones plus alcohol plus partying plus oops, I forgot something. I would have the impression that a lot of cell phones get forgotten in taxi cabs on weekends, and that therefore people might want them the next day. But I was told that the office was closed. Turns out that that was not true. I got a email message saying that I could come in on Sunday to pick it up. Now, had I received that on Friday night when I wrote, I would have been able to go in on Saturday because Saturday I was feeling well enough to travel because I got to the pub for the pubcast. But on Sunday, that was not the case. So I got out of bed at 2 p.m. I thought for sure it was only like 8 or 10 a.m. Because I usually wake up early. So I thought originally I just woke up early and I wasn't feeling good. I not a lot of energy, and it's just just 5 more minutes in bed. And well, I did that a lot, I guess, because it was 2 p.m. and the Lost and Found was already closed. It seems that they were open from 8 till 2 on the Sunday, which of course I missed, which means I had to wait until the Monday to be able to go and retrieve it, which means I couldn't do a Monday morning show for you from the Ottawa Beaver Lodge because I still didn't have the phone. I did get out of bed better than 2 p.m. On Monday. I was out by 9:30 a.m. and I was able to get the phone. But see, all I had to do that morning was get the phone. I woke up at 9:30 a.m. and by the time I got back home from picking up the phone, it was already about 2 in the afternoon. It I was dragging my backside. I had very, very low energy. So was not able to do a show last night at all. And then I just didn't have the energy to put one together. I was feeling very miserable. And I was trying to get back to the Beaver Lodge from Ottawa yesterday. So I made some arrangements in order to be able to get back home. And again, I was wiped. My beaver sweetie took very good care of me yesterday. Took a nice long warm bath and put Vicks vapor rub on me, and then dressed in a lot of layers, and then went to bed and spent the whole night sweating. Hopefully, I have sweated it all out. I feel significantly better today, although you can hear in my voice that I'm still congested and that I'm still um, a little weak. I can say I don't have the same force. I think you can tell in my eyes. Yeah, sorry. If you're watching, I'm a little tired. Um, very drained. Very drained. Had to get up and go, got up and left. Um, but I needed my damn fam time. So I am here this morning delivering a show. Hopefully, it will meet up with uh, uh, the level of quality that I usually bring, but it may not. I will be totally honest. Uh, as you can see from the start of the show, things weren't all that great. Uh, but I will do my best for you, and whatever it is that I've got, I will give to you today, damn fam. So thank you for your kindness and your patience and all your well wishes during the time I wasn't feeling well. I promise I will get lots of rest today. Um, I I should say, promise I will get a lot of rest today. I still got lots of stuff to do. This was my weekend that I was going to do all the Christmas stuff, and I spent it in bed. So I've got absolutely nothing ready for Christmas, and we'll be going to see family very soon. So right. I think I'm gonna be showing up empty-handed this year. Um, oh well. Today, at home here at the Beaver Lodge, we'll be having a little bit of fun because my beaver sweetie went and got us a tree, even though we're not going to be here for Christmas. We're going to be with his family, but went and got us a tree, and we're going to decorate it. And he didn't go get a big one. I like big trees and stuff too, but I like small little trees, and I like little Charlie Brown trees a lot as well. So my Beaver Sweetie found a small little tree that was only about like 2 or 3 foot tall, if that. Yeah, maybe about 3 feet tall, if that. And we'll decorate that, and we'll just put it on our table rather than a big one in the corner. And at least we'll have a little bit of something festive, um, which was nice. I guess he wanted me to feel better because he knows that I do like Christmas. Um, and I don't think last year we had a tree as well because we were traveling the entire time. So yeah, he wanted to make me feel better. So I went and got me a little tree and went and got me a kind of tree that I like, which is kind of sweet of him. He really is the best. Yeah, exactly, Kit Argosy. Christmas comes every year, and yet we're often unprepared. I know. I know. Wow. It's normally I'm pretty prepared, I have to say, but then again, I'm a planner. But this year, yeah, there just hasn't been time. There just hasn't been time. The show took a lot out of me, and I needed some rest afterwards. And then was helping my beaver sweetie with a lot of stuff because he had a lot of science to conclude before today. Today's the last day. He has access to the lab before the end of the year, and that was all before he got his 1 month contract extension to go back and finish the rest of the work he wanted to do at the lab. Um, so yes, I had been picking up a little bit of the extra slack here to allow him to spend as much time in the lab as possible, which meant, of course, not doing the preparation for Christmas stuff that I needed to do. So yeah, it's been a past interesting few weeks here at the Beaver Lodge. Again, like I said, with my Beaver Sweetie going to the scientific conference and me having to pick up some slack, and then with my show and him having to pick up some slack for me, and then you know. That's what it's like when you're a team, of course, right? When one of you is busy, the other person, tries to assist as much as they can, so that you can meet those deadlines and stuff. And we have been doing it, and we've been coming out of it pretty well, I have to say. But it does mean that we have to drop some balls along the way when you're juggling. And the balls that we've dropped this year was planning for Christmas. So fortunately, we're not hosting, so maybe that made it easier. And then we just thought, like this, we'll have time, we'll have time, we'll have time. But we didn't. We really didn't. So yeah, this is the first year in a long time that I am completely and totally unprepared. So I hope that I hope that the rest of you are doing well and are meeting with good progress. There you go. You got Saucy here talking about all the trees you need. You need the decoy tree for the cars and kids with soft ornaments, and then the main tree. You also have the hallway tree and a few small kitchen trees. Oh, and the one on the porch, too. That's if you really love Christmas. Uh, man. Kit Saucy. I'm not a Grinch this year, but I am vastly unprepared. So I guess I'm not the only one. Okay. Kit Kat saying my husband got a 12-foot tree and we had to get a new stand. Crazy. Kit Argosy says I have a Christmas amaryllis. It's blooming. No tree. Uh, Kit Kat says looking up at the tree gives me vertigo. Kit Saucy, for my real tree and the biggest one, I use a 5-gallon bucket with assorted rocks. It holds water for longer, and then I hide it with the tree skirt of fake snow. There you go. All right. And then, yes. And Kit Elaine, I've been using the same artificial tree for 25 years. Wow. uh, you've been doing pretty good at being able to fold it back up and storing it. Kit Saucy here. I think you need an assistant, Mr. Beaver. Yeah, I do. I do. I do indeed. Yeah, Kit Linda, my bag, my phone, my bus pass, pieces of Douglas all over the place. Yeah, and I think that that's just it's a that's a representation of just how scattered our lives have been over the past few months with various shows and rehearsals and like I said, time sensitive commitments and deadlines and stuff that we just feel. I don't know if that's been the same for you kids and cubs, but maybe even Sweetie and I have just been feeling like we've just been lurching from one deadline to another, just or one if not a deadline, a critical date for whatever projects or stuff that we're working on, and they've all been sort of interspersed like 2 weeks from each other. So maybe your sweetie, so conference was during the opening week of the show that I was in. So those 2 weeks before he had to go for the conferences, when I usually need him, he needed me. So that was tricky. And then he got back from that during the last week of show, so he was able to take care of that. And the show closed on the 30th. But then he had his caroling concert, his choir's concert on the 14th. And so therefore I had to take up some slack again. And now Christmas, the lab closing on the 23rd. So the dates have just always fallen sort of like, with a sort of like a 2 week interval that have just not allowed us time to just catch our breath. And yeah, I think the fact that I'm literally I literally have 3 or 4 different bags by the front door. One I'm not using anymore, so it's my tennis bag, but there's the gym bag, and then there's the bag for curling, and then there's the just the general bag, my general satchel for going out that has the wallet and the keys and stuff like that. And then there's, and you grab a bag and then you go. And sometimes over the course of the week, you need something in one bag, and then you forget to put it back in, for example, or you take the bus pass that was in your satchel, and for some reason, when you showed it, you put it back in your coat pocket instead of back in the satchel, or something like that. All these things that we do when we're sort of like not paying attention in the moment because they're just automatisms. I'm not sure if that's a word in English. In French, automatisme. But things that you just do automatically without thinking. You just go up, you show your bus pass, you put it back, and you know whether it goes back in the same place or some other place, or you've taken off your mitts to grab your bus pass, and you put your mitt in your coat and you show your bus pass, and then you put your bus pass in your pant pocket or something because your coat pocket is now full, or just weird things, right? And then you're certainly you go like, where the hell did I put this? And then you go, my God, I never put that there. How the hell did that get there? Well, it was in a moment of inattention while you were doing a whole bunch of other things. So yeah, that's been going on a lot. Just my attention being grabbed and pulled one way and another way and another way, and I've been having trouble keeping track of things, which leads to things being misplaced and lost often. Um, and yeah, I can always tell that when that kind of stuff starts happening to me a lot, it's because I'm frazzled, and I really do need some downtime, which is one of the reasons for which I am very glad that for Christmas we have bought ourselves vacations. Essentially, I was even sad talking to my beaver sweetie, thinking it's like I've got nothing for you this year. And my beaver sweetie looked at me and says, "I've got nothing for you either." And it's like, says, "That's okay. We don't have to do everything every year." And it's like, "Yes, we do." I like Prezzies. I love giving them and I love receiving them, but I really do love giving them. And I think maybe that's why I might not be completely in the spirit yet because I haven't had a chance to go out and do the things when I'm like buying gifts and I pick up something and I know I've got the perfect gift for that person that's going to make them so happy and then I get all giddy and then I hide it someplace and you know and then I have to suppress the urge to give it to them early because that's usually what gets me and then I have to go and buy them another gift. Which is why I don't do my Christmas shopping too early. I tried that once and I just ended up having to buy Christmas presents twice. Because I was so excited that I found the right gift. I gave it to them early and then said, "Well, you still need a gift for Christmas." So then I went out and bought another one. So that wasn't good on the pocketbook. So I changed that habit of buying too early. Um, but yeah, this time just that, making my list and checking it twice and being happy and, thrilled that, oh yes, I scored the perfect gift and all the joy that comes with that. I haven't had a chance to experience that this year either, unfortunately. Oh well. Like I said, I've had other joys this year though, that have more than made up for it. But yeah, it's been a weird Christmas season, pre-Christmas season. All right, enough with me rambling on here. That's a long introduction. Let's get into the stuff we came here for, which is the news. Yesterday, big announcement. Um, Worst kept secret in the whole damn country, it would appear. But Canada's new ambassador to the United States has been named. And I keep on thinking of Donald Trump, when he's talking about when he made that famous, uh, you know, uh, the Mexicans are not, when they send their people, they're not sending their best or something like about the Mexicans. And I'm just trying to think like when the Americans send their ambassadors, they're not sending their best. They're sending hookstras and I mean, the United States just apparently just named an envoy, allegedly, to Greenland, whose mission, it would appear, would be to start preparing the terrain for Greenland to be taken over by the United States because allegedly the United States needs it for its protection, which, you don't have to acquire things if you need them for your protection. You can just make nicey with your neighbors and build nice relationships with them, and they would want to protect you. You don't actually have to take everything that's theirs and say you need it. You can just say, "Hey, we need some friends. Want to be our friends?" And then build a friendship, and then actually be a good friend. I know, shocking, right? But yeah, so Greenland, and if there's anybody from Greenland listening, we feel your pain. We feel your pain. We've had an ambassador fuckface as well here. You're about to get your own, it seems. Um, I am sure that there is a traditional Greenland welcome for an envoy such as the one who is being sent your way, and uh, I'm sure that traditional welcome will be on display for the whole world to see. Right, Greenland? Maybe give us a couple of ideas. We seem to have trouble getting rid of the one that we want, that we have. Uh, we would love to kick him out, but we know that that would just create another pretext for Donald Trump to slap us with another tariff of some kind. So we have to endure the guy. So, Greenland, we feel your pain. We definitely feel your pain. Now, on the other side of the equation, when Canada sends their ambassadors, well, we do send our best. Kirsten Hillman, widely recognized by pretty much everyone under the sun as having done a fantastic job. By the way, if you haven't listened to CBC's The House, from this past weekend with Catherine Cullen, please do the first half of the show is an extensive interview with Canada's ambassador, well, former ambassador to the U.S., Kirsten Hillman, who'll be stepping down from her post in the new year. I think she's stepping aside on Valentine's Day or something around there. Um, but yeah, she sat down with Catherine Cullen to talk about her experience. And he said, it doesn't matter what side of the political spectrum, right, left, it doesn't matter whether you are from the diplomatic corps or career public servant or politician or pundit. Hillman has received nothing but praise from everyone for the job that she's done. And she's been there for 8 years. She hasn't been the ambassador for 8 years, but she's been in Washington for 8 years and has worked on a lot of things, right? Worked on the first NAFTA negotiation, which became CUSMA, worked on the whole issues involving Michael Kovrig and Michael Spavor when China decided to engage in hostage diplomacy. She was there for the entirety of the Biden term, and now for the whole first part of this sort of negotiation on tariffs. She's seen a lot, and it's been a very tumultuous period, and she has spent a lot of time. That's a lengthy posting. Her posting has been extended a few times, and then particularly since there's been a lot of stuff that has been happening. Um, Her time there has been much more demanding than it should have been, and this is probably one of the most demanding posts there are in our diplomatic corps. Um, so to say that it was even more demanding than it usually should be means that she has been basically working her backside off for about 8 years and doing it exceptionally well. So this is um, a retirement or a stepping aside that has been very well earned and very well deserved. Um, Hillman says that she's feeling a wide range of emotions. Quote, there's happiness in coming home and spending more time with her family, but sadness, quote, in leaving a job like this, which is so all encompassing. I live and breathe this job every single day, every day, all day. I think about the Canada US relationship all day, every day, Hillman said. She said there will likely be a, quote, coming down period as she transitions out of the role, but she's looking forward to what comes next in her life. In her final reflection, Hillman said, quote, it's hard to express what a privilege that is and what a responsibility it feels like. It has made me love my country even more because every single day my job is to either defend its interests or express its values or make connections. Quote, maybe I'll be out promoting Canada all over Canada, she said. I don't know what I'm going to do. I don't know how I'm going to wean myself off this extraordinary experience I've had. Well, I do hope you get to enjoy lots of time with your family before you take on your next challenge, Ambassador, because you did a wonderful job. And thank you so much for your service to the country in a particularly trying time and in a particularly busy time. So, who's the next person? As everybody has been suggesting pretty much from day one. I mean, it's literally Kirsten Hillman. The news came out that she was going to be stepping aside. And I think maybe 30 seconds later, the name Mark Hillman started to be. There's a photo, Mr. Hillman. My God. Mark Wiseman. Oh, my word. What's wrong with me today? Mark Wiseman. So this is a picture about him speaking at the Reuters Global Investment Outlook Summit in New York back in 2017. So maybe we can have an updated photo of him at some point. So how could you be named ambassador in the most recent picture, media file that that a me- that our national broadcaster can get of you is at most recent, already 5 years old, close to six. Um, that's pretty interesting. But it would seem that with this appointment here, um, the prime minister is picking someone that has business acumen and experience. uh, the people on the other side of the table, like Jameson Greer, the trade representative, and Howard Nutlick, I mean Lutnick, and all of them come from a financial background area. Sorry, I've got some hair in my mouth. Financial background area, and can speak the language of Wall Street. And it seems that Mr. Wiseman can also speak the same language as they do. So perhaps that will make it such that we can arrive at some agreements a whole lot more quickly, given that people are speaking the same damn language here. But Mr. Wiseman has no significant experience as a bureaucrat or as a diplomat in terms of public service, although he has worked in both the private and public sectors, because he has worked for pension funds as well as overall sort of private sector interests. This is according to JP Tasker. Prime Minister Mark Carney announced Wednesday that business. Let's try that again. Prime Minister Mark Carney announced Monday that business executive Mark Wiseman will serve as Canada's ambassador to the US, a figure with cross-border bona fides, but a controversial pick nonetheless due to some of his past comments about Quebec. Wiseman, a longtime friend of the Prime Minister who has held senior roles at some of the country's largest pension funds, takes over for the departing Kirsten Hillman on February 15th, 2026. Wiseman is headed to Washington at a pivotal time. In the months since US President Donald Trump launched his trade war on Canada, the relationship has been badly frayed, and there could be more tension on the horizon when the two sides hash out a resolution in the new year. Quote, Mark Wiseman brings immense experience, contacts, and a deep commitment at this crucial time of transformation of our relationship with the United States. As a core member of our negotiating team, he will help advance the interests of Canadian workers, businesses, and institutions while building opportunities for both Canada and the United States, Carney said in a statement. Wiseman will be tasked with helping lead the Canada US Mexico Agreement review talks, which are expected to get underway in January. As part of those discussions, Wiseman will try to help broker some relief from the punishing tariffs Trump has imposed on goods coming from some key Canadian sectors like steel, aluminium, autos, and lumber. Trump's trade representative Jameson Greer has already laid out what he expects to see from Canada to successfully negotiate an extension of that pact, including changes to supply management as well as laws that protect Canadian culture, which US tech giants have strenuously opposed. He also wants to see a dismantling of provincial bans on US liquor brands. And again, Mr. Greer, if you want to see a dismantling of provincial bans on US liquor brands, then you know what you have to do. Okay. It's really something for the United States to be presenting a list of their demands. You need to fulfill all of these if you want this deal to continue, but makes no offers of anything. This is what we're uh, prepared to accept from you. And there should be the rest of that sentence, and this is what we're prepared to put on the table. They don't tell that part. Um, the reason that there are provincial bans on US liquor is because of shit you did. Stop doing the shit you do. You will have a dismantling of the provincial bans on US liquor brands. That's just that simple. And on that front, there is some pressure because the Jim Beam distillery uh, in Kentucky is being shut down for a little bit. Jim Beam is one of the largest makers of American whiskey globally, and it's shutting down production for a year at one of its Kentucky distilleries. Um, Kentucky's $9 billion bourbon industry has been struggling to manage its abundant supply of liquor against the drop in demand. It's shutting down its production at the Claremont Distillery on January 1st, though the visitor center on site is to remain open. Quote, we are always assessing production levels to best meet customer demand and recently met with our team to discuss our volumes for 2026. We've shared with our teams that while we will continue to distill at our Freddie Boucarneau craft distillery in Claremont and at our large Boucarneau distillery in Boston, we plan to pause distillation at our main distillery on the James B. Beam campus for 2026 while we take the opportunity to invest in site enhancements. Yeah, um, it's a little bit what's going on with Algoma Steel in the sense that they've laid off a certain number of employees to do something uh, that they had planned to do next year early now so that they can go electric. And then it seems that when they do that, they'll be able to start hiring back some amount of people, maybe up to about 500 they claim or something that at the moment is the last I heard, eventually over time. But yes, they are going to, do a little bit of, do some enhancements, as they say, to make the products that they will sell, uh, more energy efficient or more. Oh my God, I can't. I'm having trouble speaking today. Carbon responsive to what demands are in terms for exporting, so that they don't get hit with, for example, carbon border adjustment mechanism tariffs and stuff of the like. Um, they will be doing something similar there, making some enhancements over the course of that year. Um, Now they have the problem that Jim Beam is having is not only having to do with Canada, but it also has to do with a drastic change in drinking habits among younger people. A record high percentage of US adults, 53%, said moderate drinking is bad for their health, which is up from 28% in 2015, according to a Gallup poll published in August. The uptick in doubt about alcohol's benefits is largely driven by young adults, the most likely to believe drinking, quote, one or two drinks a day can cause health hazards. The survey found that 54% of US adults said they drink alcoholic beverages such as liquor, wine, or beer, which is lower than at any other point in the past 3 decades. So, appetite for alcohol, number one, is going down. But then when you add it to the fact that Canadians are just not buying, well, things are tough and they need to make some adjustments. Um, so yeah, um, Mr. Greer, you know what you need to do if you want to see a dismantling of the provincial bans on U.S. liquor brands. Uh, Greer told Congress that CUSMA has been, quote, successful to a certain degree, but that amendments are needed before Trump agrees to extend it for another 16 years or revert to yearly reviews, something Canada is eager to avoid given the resulting annual uncertainty. Wiseman, born in the border town of Niagara Falls, Ontario, is no stranger to these irritants. Among Carney's first decisions after being sworn in earlier this year was naming Wiseman to the Prime Minister's Council on Canada-US Relations, a body first created by former Prime Minister Justin Trudeau just as Trump was about to be sworn in as president for the second time. So at least Wiseman will not be coming in completely fresh with no idea of what's been going on the file because he's been on that council for the past few months and has at least had a chance to bring himself up to speed with what things are with how things have transpired up until then and how things are going now. In an interview with CBC News, David Patterson, Ontario's representative to the US, the one that Ambassador Fuckface chided and publicly humiliated and dressed down and used dropped f-bombs and stuff on, and Mr. Patterson remained classy throughout it all. In an interview with CBC News, David Patterson, Ontario's representative to the US, welcomed Wiseman's appointment, saying his business acumen will be useful in the months to come as CUSMA renewal talks intensify. Quote, I think we're in a 6-month sprint right now to July 1st to try and solve as many of those issues, largely sectoral issues, as we can by that date so we can see this deal move forward, Patterson said, referring to Greer's list of conditions that must be met before renewing CUSMA. Wiseman's understanding of investment as a financial person, he's got experience looking into all different sectors. I think that'll be a help, he said. The incoming ambassador's close relationship with the prime minister is also a plus, Patterson said, as it means Wiseman can speak with some authority. Quote, it's so encouraging and important that the prime minister has developed a good rapport with the president. That's particularly important here. So having somebody that is close, regular conversation with the prime minister in this role is going to be absolutely essential. Yes, you want when you're sending an ambassador to a post as important as the United States, because the United States is important to Canada. In that sense, you want and that same thing for China, for example. You want to send somebody that the people over there understand, have the ear of the prime minister, so that when they're dealing with that ambassador, that representative, they know that they could be just as well talking to the prime minister. Um, with Ambassador Fuckface, who's been sent to us from the United States, we know we don't have that, right? This ambassador does not have the president's ear. He's not even in the room when the negotiations are happening, and then he goes up on TV and in front of the media and says, "Well, I'm guessing it has something to do with the energy in the room. The reason why you guys don't have a trade deal yet." And you would know this how? Not being in the room, sir. Right? Um, so that will definitely be a good sign. Like I said, encouraging sign. While Ontario has its own concerns about the state of the trade negotiations, the province wants Ottawa to be more focused on advertising U.S. efforts to torpedo the auto sector. Patterson said he's confident the Carney-Wiseman duo are well placed to land a deal when the time comes. Quote, we'll be there 100% behind the new ambassador to make sure that he's successful, he said. While Wiseman may have Ontario's support, at least one province has raised red flags about the appointment. Wiseman's past public musings on supply management make him a controversial pick in some circles, notably in Quebec, where there's a contingent of politically active dairy farmers determined to keep that regime in place. Wiseman previously said supply management, which protects the domestic dairy industry from some imports and guarantees farmers a minimum price for their products, benefits, quote, a group of settled players, impedes innovation, and keeps, quote, prices artificially high for Canadian consumers. Those comments have prompted concern that Wiseman will be a half hearted defender of supply management when Trump and his team put it on the table for negotiation. Speaking to reporters earlier this month, amid reports Wiseman could get the U.S. job, Pascal Paradis, a Parti Québécois member of Quebec's National Assembly, said his nomination would be unacceptable for Quebec. The Parti Québécois will never accept the nomination of Mark Wiseman as Canada's ambassador to the U.S. Why? Because Mark Wiseman is not a friend of the Quebec nation, Paradis said at a news conference in Quebec City. Carney has been adamant that supply management is safe on his watch. Sorry, I'll repeat that because my voice gave out there. Carney has been adamant that supply management is safe on his watch. Quote, we've been clear about our approach to supply management. We continue to stand by that. We will continue to protect supply management, the Prime Minister said at a news conference last week after Greer's conditions for the CUSMA review were released. Wiseman also serves as chairman of the Century Initiative, a nonprofit that calls for more immigration to boost Canada's economy. And this is the part that the federal Conservatives have been jumping on. 2 years ago, he posted an article with an eyebrow-raising headline on social media. Quote, 100 million Canadians by 2100 may not be federal policy, but it should be, even if it makes Quebec howl, is how that Globe and Mail column read and what he reposted on X. And here's the problem with that, because you got Pascal Paradis turning around saying he's no friend of Quebec because they read that headline and attribute that even if it makes Quebec howl part as something that gets attributed to Wiseman. But Wiseman never said that. That's just in the title. It's the people who wrote the headline for that column in the Globe and Mail who chose those words. So, the Parti Québécois, not wanting Quebecers to know that, are trying to spin it as if, we're going to do whatever we're going to do, even if it makes Quebec howl. Uh, That's and they're attributing it to Wiseman, and that's something he never said. And that's just words that were in the title of an article, but they're not his words. See, and this is why you got to be careful. That's why you got to be careful when you're saying, "Yeah, see, he said that," because article titles are often written in order to catch your eye, and often they're not even chosen by the person who wrote the article, right? So, and often the headline is misleading, or it has it's written in such a way. Um, well, we know that that will get you to click on it, and then it's not really there. But the article in question, and I'll read it to you here, was written by Andrew Coyne. It began as Quebec political class freakouts often do, with a front page splash in the Journal de Montréal, Quebec trapped by Ottawa, the headline in Saturday's paper screamed. Over 8 traumatized pages, the paper reporters and columnists worked themselves into hysterics at the news that federal immigration policy aimed to expand the country's population to 100 million by 2100. Quote, Quebec will find itself drowned in a sea of 100 million Canadians by the end of the century, the paper reported in its customary tone of objectivity. If the massive immigration targets announced by the Trudeau government last fall materialized, we don't know how everyone will be housed or transported, it wailed, or how we will be cared for by our overwhelmed health service. Worse, it would put the survival of French in North America in stark jeopardy, along with Quebec's political weight within the Federation. It quoted former Prime Minister, Liberal Cabinet Minister Let's try that. It quoted former provincial Liberal cabinet minister Benoit Pelletier mourning the quote irreversible decline of Quebec as a French-speaking society within Canada. Mind you, it concedes 100 million Canadians is not actually federal policy. Oops, it's a proposal of the Century Initiative, an activist group admittedly liberal adjacent. It was co-founded by Dominic Barton, but no more than that. But still, don't current federal immigration targets 465,000 this year, 485,000 next year, 500,000 in 2025? That's before the caps were put in place, by the way. Quote, pave the way to achieving this objective, that is, if they were to be maintained for another 75 years after that? The paper's columnists were quite certain they do, and what is more, that this was no accident. According to Richard Martineau, it's all part of a deliberate plot hatched by Pierre Trudeau and continued by his son, quote, to dilute the French-speaking presence within Canada, to drown, that word again, Quebec, etc. They're trying to finish Quebecers off, agreed Denise Bombardier. Quebec drowned in 100 million Canada without any debate, fumed Mario Dumont. The paper's cartoonist Y repeated the watery metaphor. Okay, again, you do know that even if that was going to be the case, some of those, a good portion of those immigrants would be French speaking as well, right? And that we are supposed to believe that Trudeau, father, Pierre Elliott Trudeau, right, wanted to take any action whatsoever that would dilute the French speaking presidents within Canada, and that this was a value so held dear by Pierre Elliott Trudeau that he transferred it to his son, Justin Trudeau, who lived his whole life up until the time he was recruited into politics, not seeming like he was going to go into politics in any way, shape, or form. Because, and then when he did, seek to finish his father's work, allegedly, of diluting the French speaking presence within Canada, even though they too are both French. It literally doesn't make any sense. There was a lot more in that vein. Theories of powerful figures using immigration as a weapon to subdue and replace the host population are co signed to the racist fringe in most societies. In Quebec, they're mainstream. What then was the reaction among the province's political leaders? Was it Le Journal is a race baiting rag and will not dignify this last attempt to prey on its readers' fears with a response? Not quite. The province's Minister of Immigration, Christine Fréchette, declared that Quebec would not allow Ottawa to impose its immigration targets on it. The National Assembly passed a resolution denouncing the federal plan as incompatible with the protection of French in Quebec. The Bloc Québécois introduced a similar motion in Parliament Thursday. Very well. Let us suppose 100 million Canadians by 2100 was in fact a federal policy, and let us assume it remained federal policy for the next 77 years. Does Trudeau plan not to stick around for that long? If so, I think he should tell us. What does this quote radical departure, this quote revolution, this quote outlandish plan Le Journal pass him amount to? It amounts to a significant slowing in Canada's historic population growth rate. Yes, you heard that right, kits and cubs. The Century Initiative that the separatist Québécois kept on trying to make all the Québécois believe was a deliberate attempt to drown French, dilute it in a sea of English, and that the Conservative Party of Canada has been trying to make us believe for months now, because it has mentioned the Century Initiative before, but now they're on it like it's steroids because, well, Wiseman is now the ambassador. It would be this incredible, outlandish program to keep on raising the immigration rates so high when immigration is already out of control. Turns out that if you did the math, considering that we're already at 40 million, another 60 million in 77 years at the time it was originally proposed is an exorbitantly high rate of new people, when in reality it was a significant slowing of the rate based on what it was at the time it was proposed, which is exactly what the Conservatives were calling for. So the Conservatives want you to believe that 100 million Canadians by 2100 is something that's absolutely freakishly impossible, as they were calling for immigration to be curtailed and possibly even population decline, which is what they've got right now, based on numbers that we've just recently announced showing that there was a population decline of 0.2%. But they want you to believe it's some type of liberal plot, I guess, to flood Canada with a whole bunch more immigrants that are loyal to the Liberal Party because they came in under Liberals, I guess, and that they will always vote Liberal and the Conservatives will never be able to form government again or something. But this whole, the Century Initiative, oh my God, it's so terrible, is basically anti-immigrant racist rhetoric on the part of the Conservative Party, US style. Because when you actually learn about it and realize that getting that to that number would have required us to slow down immigration from the rate at which it was at the time it was proposed, well, then I'm not sure what Pierre should be complaining about, because this is specifically what he wanted. Canada's population will cross the 40 million. Sorry. To get to 100 million in 77 years, 2.5 times our current level. So I'm guessing this article was written a few years ago. Implies an annual growth rate of 1.2%. By comparison, over the last 77 years, our population more than tripled from 12.3 million in 1946. That works out to 1.5% annually. To be sure, birth rates were higher in 1950 and 1960s. Population growth today comes almost exclusively from immigration. Fine. Let's take 1970 as our starting point. Average annual population growth, 1.2%. The Century Initiative proposal is essentially a continuation of the status quo. The Century Initiative, again, I will repeat, proposed a continuation of the status quo as it existed in 1970, an annual population growth of 1.2%, slower than everything that we had experienced. The same between the time that our population tripled from 12.3 million in 1946. So the Century Initiative proposes a slower level of immigration than we've known since 1946, and Pierre wants you to believe that it's actually proposing the opposite, exorbitantly high levels of immigration, and that 100 million people by 2100, something he won't even be alive to see, is some type of conspiracy to somehow dilute or weaken Canada or, make us, I don't know. I don't know what it is that they suggest because the thought is just so messy and so unattached to anything um, that exists in observable reality. But it literally is. It's all based on fear the immigrant. So it's almost a wonder that they didn't say, "Oh my God, if they let in 100 million, they'll be eating the cats and the dogs. There won't be enough food." I just, it's just silly. 100 million looks like a big number compared to today, in the same way today's 40 million would look unimaginably large to someone in 1946. But that's the magic of compounding. Any growth rate, no matter how modest, compounded over a long enough time yields big changes. The 100 million headline relies for its shock value on implying the opposite. Our population more than doubles overnight. How can we possibly adapt over 77 years? We'll adapt. But back to Quebec. Current provincial policy under the CAQ government of Premier Francois Legault is to accept just 50,000 immigrants per year. At that rate, Quebec's share of Canada's population would drop from just over 22% to less than 15%, and its clout in federal politics along with it. On the other hand, if the province increases its immigration intake in line with the federal numbers, it worries it will be unable to assimilate them all, leading to a decline, perhaps terminal, in the use of French. But is it as stark as that? Quebec used to have a larger share of the population than it does now, with less clout. Back in 1946, Quebec accounted for 29% of the population, but it was inward looking and church dominated, with little interest in federal politics and less influence. From 1867 to then, Canada elected just one prime minister from Quebec, Sir Wilfrid Laurier. Since then, we've had almost nothing but, for 51 of those 77 years, we have been governed by prime ministers from Quebec. Quebec issues and concerns have likewise dominated federal politics for much of that time. Its influence has grown even as its electoral weight has declined. Neither did it require radical federal immigration plans to reduce its share of the population. The province did that all on its own. As late as 1971, Quebec still accounted for 27% of Canada's population. What happened after that? You don't think that 50 years of language wars, insanity, repeated threats of secession, and the economic uncertainty. Oh my God, let's try that again. You don't think that 50 years of language wars, insanity, repeated threats of secession, and the economic uncertainty that followed might have had something to do with it? Suppose Quebec's share of the population did dwindle in the decades to come, maybe not all the way to 15% as under the CAQ immigration plan, but to 17 or 18% implied by the less restrictive plans proposed by the Quebec Liberal Party and Quebec Solidaire. The Parti Québécois wants even fewer immigrants than the CAQ. 18% of 100 million people is still 18 million people, more than twice than Quebec's current population. Even if only two-thirds of them spoke French, an unlikely scenario in a province where 94% now speak the language, that's still 12 million French speakers versus fewer than 8 million today. Nevertheless, the calls are already coming for the rest of Canada to rescue Quebec from its self-imposed dilemma. First, as mentioned, the province's federal and provincial representatives are pressing the Trudeau government to cut its planned immigration intake to something more in line with the preferences of official Quebec, in effect to let Quebec dictate federal immigration policy. Second, Mr. Legault has already floated demands for Quebec to be guaranteed its current share of the seats in the House of Commons forever, quote, regardless of how low its share of the population falls, and who's to say some ambitious federal leader won't promise to deliver on one or both of these? Pardon me, kids and cubs, I have to cough. Mm, thank you for your patience there and your indulgence. Whew. That would be a travesty of federalism on the one hand, if of representation by population on the other. More to the point, let me try that. Sorry, we haven't regained my breath there. That would be a travesty of federalism on the one hand, of representation by population on the other. More to the point, even if 100 million by 2100 isn't federal policy, it should be. It's not that we need that many people, as it is often claimed. A country's standard of living is decided by many more things than just how many people it has in it. We could get by perfectly well at 40 million or at 20 million for that matter. But there are benefits at the margin. Larger populations mean lower fixed costs per capita and other economies of scale. At higher population density, transportation costs are lower. Larger economies typically generate more companies, meaning more competition for consumers. More startups and more innovators mean more chances of coming up with a unicorn product that conquers export markets and so on. Suppose we do reach 100 million by the end of the century. The remarkable thing is not that we would have grown to that size, but that most of our peers will have seen their population shrink over the same period. According to the latest population projections by the United Nations, Canada with 100 million people would be a major world power, second only to the United States among the rich countries, having surpassed Japan, 74 million, the United Kingdom, 70 million, Germany, 69 million, France, 61 million, and Italy, 37 million. We would be a quarter of the size of the US. We are now about a ninth, nearly as large as Russia, and incredibly one-eighth the size of China, whose population is projected to collapse to barely half its current level. This has the potential to be utterly transformational. Quite apart from our position in the world, our bargaining strength and influence in international councils, it would revolutionize our sense of ourselves. Canadians, even today, tend to think of themselves as a small, inconsequential country where nothing ever happens. We're not, of course, at 40 million. We are already in the upper fifth of all the countries on Earth, but by then it would be indisputable. No longer would talented, ambitious Canadians have to leave Canada in search of the big time. The big time would be here. Our country would be the sort of place the best and brightest come to rather than from. It's probably no coincidence that the most optimistic period in our history was also the period in which we enjoyed the most rapid growth in our population, the earliest 20th century before the First World War slammed the gates shut. At the time, it was common for people to predict that Canada would have 100 million people by the end of the century, the 20th century, that is. Behind by a century, we may be, but better late than never. So there you go, kits and cubs. Um, all that is being said right now by the conservatives trying to create some immigration panic with regard to the Century Initiative and this Mr. Weissman um, was all bunk to begin with. And it is even more bunk now because, as ambassador, Canadian ambassador to the United States, it's not like Mr. Weissman is going to be responsible at all in any way, shape, or form for any federal immigration policy and will have no authority to speak of it. And again, in Quebec, with regard to supply management, when it comes to dairy and all that kind of stuff, even though Mr. Wiseman himself is not a big fan necessarily of the concept. The Prime Minister has made it very clear in interviews that he is a big fan of supply management, and therefore, regardless of what Mr. Wiseman thinks of it personally, it is here to stay. So we will see what becomes of that. Um, so, uh, getting back to the article about Mr. Wiseman and talking about the Century Initiative and that Mark Wiseman was the chairman of that nonprofit group. That prompted conservative leader Pierre Poilievre to say Wiseman, quote, is someone who has shown contempt for Quebec and who cannot negotiate on behalf of Quebec. Well, he's not being brought in to negotiate on behalf of Quebec. He's being brought in to negotiate on behalf of Canada. Bloc Québécois House Leader Christine Normandin also took issue with the use of the word howl, which she said is something dogs do. It's not even Wiseman's word, it's a word in the article. People, come on. But Wiseman's job will have very little, if anything, to do with immigration levels. His attention will be focused on securing a successful CUSMA review with unpredictable Trump. Former Alberta Premier Jason Kenney, a conservative, said that's what Wiseman was well suited to do. The two worked together when Wiseman was the head of Alberta Investment Management Corporation, or AIMCO, a crown corporation that invests tens of billions of dollars worth of funds generated from the province's oil resources and public pension plans. Quote, Mark is one of Canada's top private sector finance experts who is an effective deal maker. He's the kind of guy who could get down to brass tacks and defend our interests effectively in dealing with the Trump administration, Kenney said, prior to Wiseman's appointment being confirmed. Richard Shamuka, senior fellow at the Macdonald-Laurier Institute, said the trust Carney and Wiseman have developed over years of friendship will be useful during what is expected to be tense negotiations during the Trump administration. While Hillman was widely respected, she was a Trudeau appointee, and Wiseman said Carney is entitled to his own hand-picked ambassador. Plus, the wealthy Wiseman is a good fit for the administration he's poised to deal with, Shamuka said. Looking at Trump's cabinet, quote, there's a large number of people in there who are in the economic upper crust, he said. Wiseman has the ability to go to these people and speak their language. Either way, Wiseman's negotiation skills and patience will be put to the test with the sometimes erratic Trump, Shamuka said. Quote, this is not going to be easy. You can have an agreement on policy one day, and the next day, it's gone. And that's really what it has been dealing with Trump, hasn't it? It's just there one day, and then the next day, it's not. So yeah, Ambassador Wiseman, he's our guy, and we will see if there's well, I guess we'll see how that works. Like I said, somebody who has that that level of experience and who could speak the language definitely could be helpful. No diplomatic experience can maybe be a bit of a liability. That isn't necessarily always the case. I believe Canadian ambassador to the U.S., David McNaughton, was picked the ambassador. He also didn't have experience in a diplomacy position, and he turned to be a rather good. And did very well. So it's not necessarily always required, although it can prove to be rather helpful, no doubt. But given that the trade file is probably going to be the only major file that that will be of interest or that will really count over the next little bit. The lack of, how would I put it, the lack of experience necessarily in the diplomatic realm might not be too much of a hindrance in this particular case, given that he probably won't be called to do too much on subjects other. Let's put it that way. I think Wiseman, if I'm not mistaken, as well, has experience with the Canada pension plan as well, in terms of managing that, if I'm not mistaken there. So he will definitely be well suited for the role. According to the Prime Minister's itself, when they made the announcement, this is what they had to say about it. The Carney today announced that Mark Wiseman will become the next ambassador of Canada to the United States upon presentation of his credentials. With a career spanning 3 decades in law, business, and finance, Mr. Wiseman has deep experience with both countries' economies, financial markets, and institutions. He has a strong track record of unlocking new opportunities for Canadians, including as President and Chief Executive Officer for the Canada Pension Plan Investment Board. There we go. That's what I was mentioning earlier. As chair of the board of directors of the Alberta Investment Management Corporation and as a current member of the Prime Minister's Council on Canada-U.S. Relations. Once he becomes ambassador as of February 15th, 2026, Mr. Wiseman will be a key contributor to the government's efforts to advance Canada-US priorities, including secure borders, a strengthened trade and investment relationship, and cooperation between Canada and the United States on global challenges. The Prime Minister extends his deep gratitude to Kirsten Hillman for her immense contributions as Canada's ambassador to the United States. In addition to deepening Canada-US ties, Ambassador Hillman has resolutely defended Canadian values and interests and promoted a stronger future for Canadian workers who depend on stable trade, families who count on a safe and secure border, and businesses who must navigate new global uncertainties. And I just wanted to mention as well that Ambassador Hillman said that she will still remain on call if ever she is needed for something with regard to the trade file itself. Um, so there, not sure if there's a more on him here. There's a biographical note on him here that says, among his board and advisory roles with various organizations, Mr. Wiseman has recently served as senior advisor and chairman of Lazard Canada, on the board of directors of Nova Chemicals, as chairman of the board of Alter and as a senior advisor to the Boston Consulting Group. He has also recently served as the chair of the board of directors of the Alberta Investment Management Corporation from 2020 to 2023. Previously, he was senior managing director at BlackRock, global head of active equities, chairman of BlackRock's alternatives business, and chairman of its Global Investment Committee. He also served on the BlackRock's Global Executive Committee. Prior to joining the BlackRock, Mr. Wiseman was president and chief executive officer of the Canada Pension Plan Investment Board, where he first served as senior vice president, private investment, and then as executive vice president before becoming the CEO. Born in Niagara Falls, Mr. Wiseman holds a Bachelor of Arts from Queen's University, as well as a law degree and a Master of Business Administration from the University of Toronto. He was a Fulbright Scholar at Yale University, where he obtained a Master of Laws. He also served as a law clerk to Justice Beverly McLaughlin at the Supreme Court of Canada. Wow, that's impressive. He is a dedicated community leader who has served on the board of several nonprofit organizations, including Alpine Canada, Sinai Health System, the Capital Markets Institute, and the Dean's Advisory Board on the University of Toronto's Rotman School of Management. In 2012, he was awarded the Queen Elizabeth II Diamond Jubilee Medal in recognition of his service. So seems to be somewhat a little well-rounded um, as well. Like I said, a wealth of experience in both the private and public sectors. Um, said, you know, yeah, very, very impressive resume from what we can see here. So again, for dealing with trade, um, definitely a good pick. I have to say, at least on paper, sounds absolutely sounds exactly the type of person we would need. Now, would this probably be if he was just on the trade and negotiating team specifically, and brought in as the head negotiator rather than the ambassador specifically? Um, Maybe, but like I said, given that the trade file will be the number one file, and number two, and number three, and number four, probably, yeah, that like I said, it might be good. Those other side issues might not make so much, might not create a weakness. And there's also the fact that, he's not alone, he's going there, but the rest of the team that is there, uh, the rest of the team that is there to support him, and to provide him the information that he needs to be able to do well, at least on the diplomatic file, with anything that is not trade. And hopefully he will have time. He will be a quick study and be able to pick up those things there. All right. So, like I said, we'll see how that works out in the end for us. Um, okay, PNC Bio says here, no wonder Prime Minister Mark Carney is the way he is. His friends, even his wife, are extraordinarily talented. Yeah, that's indeed. He does travel in some rarefied air where everybody else is around him seems to be just as exceptionally talented or educated or successful or important or elevated. Um, it is something. It is definitely something. Get Katavi going. Katavi G better a Wiseman than an outhouse. Kit Linda, are they going to demand that Wiseman disclose all of his investments too? Uh, yeah, there's so many things, right? But yeah, so hey, uh, at least the conservatives are happy. They get to, you know, claim that terrible immigration things are going to happen as a result of this guy being put there, and get to engage in some casual racism, which is something they always enjoy. And the separatists in Quebec get to take an article that said we should do this even if the Quebecois howl, and attribute the howl. Allow them to get all upset about howl, which was an editorial choice made by the person who wrote the headline, but take that as a sign of that's what Canada uh, decide to take that statement by the person who wrote the headline, the copy editor who wrote the headline, and try to take that and say that that is an official policy of Canada, that we're going to do this and we don't care how it makes Quebec feel, even if it howls. We will do that when that was had nothing to do with it. But they get their issue to say that he's not a friend of Quebec and this is an insult, and just so that they can do the repression thing, right? Um, so they both have what they need to keep on doing business as usual, right? But I'm not sure that that's going to be particularly appropriate here in this uh, incidence, in this instance. All right. And also the fact that, you know, saying that he's going to do things against other people's will is kind of rich, particularly if it is conservatives who say it. Oh, by the way, I'm seeing here in files from the Canadian press uh, a little interesting tidbit here. Um, the Bloc Québécois Conservatives have already leveled criticism over Wiseman's role in co-founding the Century Initiative, which aims to increase Canada's population to 100 million by 2100. Conservative leader Pierre Poilievre has called that a, quote, a radical idea, while the Bloc says he will be damaging for Quebec following a social media post from Wiseman 2 years ago saying Canada must aim for the 100 million strong population, quote, even if it makes Quebec howl. Um, I would like to see uh, that social media post from Weisman, uh, but it says here that post has since been deleted. Um, again, uh, is that Wiseman saying that they should do this, even if it makes Quebec howl, or was Wiseman just quoting the headline in the article? You have to be very careful with attribution to make sure that you get it exactly right. Um, but when we're talking about uh, doing things over the objections of other people, there are some people in the Conservative Party that are getting a little upset that Liberals might be doing that. But at the same time, they are saying, and this is from the National Pest here, um, Podiev says he would build pipelines against First Nations objections. Now, we've been seeing this in interviews. Pierre's trying to have his cake and eat it too. He's trying to have it both ways, saying, I would build a pipeline. I would build a pipeline over First Nations objections. Well, would you consult? Well, yes, but you would build the pipeline anyway, regardless of the results of the consultations. Well, yes. So the consultations don't really matter. Yeah, they do matter. Well, no, they don't, really. You're going to do consultations to tick a box to say you did them, but then you're just gonna do what you're gonna factor them in, right? Um, in a year-end CBC interview, Conservative leader Pierre Poilievre confirmed that his strategy to pipeline differs from the Prime Minister's in that he would eventually steamroll opponents who stood in its way. I would consult, but we are going to build a pipeline. I am Prime Minister. It's been 3 weeks since Prime Minister Mark Carney signed a November 27th memorandum of understanding with the Alberta government to build a bitumen pipeline, close to 4 now, along a road to markets as a priority. Nevertheless, the document doesn't lay out what Carney's government would do about First Nations or provincial governments who stand in opposition. Multiple times in recent months, the Liberal government has said that no pipeline to the Pacific Ocean would be built without the unanimous approval of both Indigenous leaders and the BC government. He told reporters in July, quote, "We must have a consensus of all the provinces and the Indigenous people. If a province doesn't want it, it's impossible." The memorandum of understanding doesn't go quite this far, but one of its necessary conditions is that Alberta is required, quote, "to engage with British Columbia and engage meaningfully with Indigenous peoples." Nevertheless, speaking to the House of Commons just after the MOU was signed, Carney said, quote, "We believe the government of British Columbia has to agree. We believe that First Nations right holders in this country have to agree and support all stakeholders after that." He added that although the MOU lays out, quote, "necessary conditions," it does not lay out sufficient conditions. As recently as December 1st, Liberal BC MP Talib Noor Mohammed was defending the MOU on CBC by saying that it merely refers, quote, "to a theoretical pipeline with no set route or proponent. Any proposed pipeline, quote, has to have the consent of the jurisdiction in question and has to have the consent of First Nations," said Noor Mohammed. On both those counts, the proposed pipeline is facing a solid wall of opposition from both BC Premier David Eby and a coalition of First Nations groups whose activism was instrumental in seeking the proposed Northern Gateway pipeline in 2016. At a recent summit of the Assembly of First Nations, National Chief Cindy Woodhouse-Neepanak said, quote, "When it comes to approving large national projects on First Nations lands, there will not be getting around rights holders." All the while, Carney has stuck to his pledge of unanimous consent despite the fact that he retains near unilateral power to approve a new pipeline on the West Coast over the objections of either First Nations or EB. So here we're dealing with the situation is that just because you have the power, does that mean you should wield it any which way? And Mark Carney is saying, yes, I understand the power is mine. I can unilaterally impose it, but I don't want to do that way. I would rather have buy-in. And Pierre is basically saying, well, because I have that power, I will use it and I will bulldoze over you. So we have two different attitudes here. Carney's power over EB is particularly absolute. The 1867 British North America Act, which forms the core of Canada's which forms the core of Canada's constitution, specifies that the federal government retains exclusive domain over, quote, "works and undertakings connecting the province with any other or others of the provinces." This is something that EB himself has acknowledged, telling reporters last month if the federal government wished, they could impose this pipeline on us. When it comes to First Nations, meanwhile, the federal government retains, quote, "a duty to consult," but the Supreme Court has ruled that this is not a veto over development. In 2017, for instance, oh boy, I can't pronounce that. Sorry. I cannot pronounce that at all. I have no idea how it's supposed to be pronounced. In 2017, for instance, a First Nation in BC attempted to block the development of the proposed Humboldt Glacier Resort, arguing in part that they hadn't been adequately consulted or accommodated. The Supreme Court dismissed the appeal, writing, quote, "Where adequate consultation has occurred, any development may proceed without the consent of an Indigenous of." The Supreme Court dismissed the appeal, writing, "Where adequate consultation has occurred, a development may proceed without the consent of an Indigenous group." And Carney's power to override anti-pipeline dissent is particularly strong in the wake of Bill C-5, his government's legislation to fast-track so-called nation-building projects. Under its auspices, Carney could speed any pipeline past. And I do not know why the screen just shifted and all the stuff disappeared. Hold on, I'll try to find the article again. There we go. Under its auspices, Carney could speed any pipeline past much of Canada's usual suite of years-long development and environmental review. The case Polyev has been making since the signing of the MOU is that it adds unnecessary steps to a process that doesn't actually require cooperation. As he told Rosemary Barton, the federal government has the sole legal authority to approve it, so approve it. There's nothing yet to approve, you dumbass. Quote, there's only one person who will decide this in the end, and that is the Prime Minister of Canada. If that's what the Prime Minister of Canada wants it to be, if the Prime Minister of Canada wants it to be his decision and his decision only and doesn't care about any other people and the outcomes on any other people, then fine. Yes, he does have that power. But if the Prime Minister wants to be a good leader, participative, consultative, consensus building, then just because he has a certain power doesn't mean that he's going to use it. Pierre is looking at the writing of this and saying, well, nothing says here that I need to cooperate and play nice with people. And since I'm not very good at playing nice with people, well, good, here I don't have to. I'm just going to impose it. Bam. I'm the Prime Minister. I said so. Do it. Make it happen. You over there, stop crying. It's literally what he's saying. Oh my God. Within days of the BC Conservative Party blowing up over a leadership crisis, a near identical phenomenon overtook One BC, a two MLA microparty formed from a dissident BC Conservatives. In the case of the BC Conservatives, half the caucus called for the ouster of leader John Rustad, the party's executive, then removed him, prompting Rustad to refuse to acknowledge said rumor before ultimately stepping down the next morning. I have no idea why they've just switched to talking about other stuff. Like this in this editorial. Um, but yes, this no longer has anything to do with that pipeline. But since they're talking about this, let's keep going with this for a second here, because I've got a little update on this, what they're mentioning here. In the One BC saga, one of the two MLAs declared non-confidence in party leader Dallas Brody. Its other MLA, the party's board, then announced that Brody had been removed as leader, and Brody refused to acknowledge the removal. Quote, yes, we are experiencing a little turbulence, but the plane is still flying, and we will be in beautiful, calm skies shortly, reads a note on Brody's official X account. According to Brody, the entire fiasco was prompted by her wanting to fire a staffer she saw as too politically extreme. The whole reason One BC exists, meanwhile, is because Brody herself was ejected from the BC Conservative due to Rustad's claim that she was too politically extreme. So there you go. On that front, by the way, just wanted you to know there's been a little bit of a development according to Dallas Brody herself and what has on her socials. It seems that the she is back at the helm. It would seem. Now again, how true? How how true this is in any way, shape, or form? Whether or not something that she's just saying to keep this, or whether or not it's a real thing. But yes, it says here. It says that she has reclaimed the party. It is now back under her control, and that they will be going onwards and upwards. We'll see if that's actually a real thing or not, but that's what she is claiming at the moment. Not the most predictable, not the most reliable source for information here. But yeah, it seems that yeah, we'll see what happens there. With regard to the pipeline itself, though, Pierre basically advertising here. When I'm prime minister, which will never be, I'm just going to run roughshod over people. Yeah, I'll consult, but I'm going to do it my way anyway. is what he's saying. So it's just interesting to see uh, them losing their minds about other people that they claim would impose stuff on people without their consent, um, while they themselves are purporting to do the same damn thing. But hey, there you go. That's modern conservatism for you these days, kids and cubs. It's just the way it works. Um, little pieces of news to close off the show here. A lot of people have heard of that report that was supposed to show on 60 Minutes. Um, that was going to deal with the Seacot prison in El Salvador and the Venezuelans that the United States have been sending there, um, so that they could be tortured or disappeared or never heard from again. Over 200 Venezuelans have been sent down there. It seems that there's a whole system that the United States is determining to using to determine which of them are gang members and dangerous and all that kind of stuff. And it doesn't matter how attached to reality it is; it has nothing to do with it. If you're Venezuela, it's basically a point system, and if you get 8 points, you are deemed to be someone who could go to such a prison. And if you are Venezuelan and have tattoos, that's 4 points out of the eight right there. Um, Now there are lots of gangs in the in that area. For example, the MS-13 that they keep on talking about that do brand themselves with tattoos. But the particular gang, specifically being referred to in Venezuela, doesn't do that. Being a Venezuelan who has tattoos, being a sign that you're part of a gang, uh, doesn't actually hold water in this particular case. Um, it would seem that this whole piece that had been prepared from 60 Minutes, that had been vetted, viewed by lawyers, all that kind of stuff, had been announced. They were having commercials and they were saying that they would be showing it and all of that kind of stuff. So, I mean, it has been seen and approved and approved and approved for it to get to that level that it is being promoted. Um, the story got pulled at the last minute. Yep, just pulled. It wasn't aired at all. As Kit Bucky, who watches the show, says that the story got buried, which was a very clever pun, because, and the reason why we say buried instead of buried is because, um, well, there's somebody named Barry Weiss, not to be confused with Barry White. We got it together, babe. Mm. We really got it together, babe. I can't even do the little voice today. My voice is so shot. Uh, but yes, Barry Weiss is the new editor in chief at CBS News, and yeah, they decided that they were going to pull the story. But something happened. You see, someone wasn't very thorough in their job because 60 Minutes, yes, even though it airs in the United States, it does air in other nations as well, such as Canada. And it seems that the whole episode had been sent to global TV in Canada. I'm going to guess prior to the segment being pulled, and that even though the segment was pulled in the United States, the order was not given internationally. So, the episode, when it aired in Canada, the episode led with the story, the one that Barry Weiss stopped from airing in the US because she said it was not ready. Several Canadian viewers shared clips and summaries of the story on social media, and within hours, the videos went viral on platforms like Reddit and Blue Sky. Quote, "Watch fast," one of the Canadian viewers wrote on Blue Sky, predicting that CBS would try to have the videos taken offline. Indeed, CBS's parent company, Paramount, began filing copyright claims, leading to some of the YouTube streams being disabled. Progressive Substack writers and commentators blasted out the clips and urged people to share them. This could wind up being the most watched news magazine segment in television history, the high profile Trump antagonist George Conway commented on X. A CBS News representative acknowledged that the Canadian stream happened, quote, mistakenly. Alfonsi's report was weeks in the making. Weiss screened it for the first time last Thursday night. The story was finalized on Friday, according to CBS sources, and was announced in a press release that same day. On Saturday morning, Weiss began to change her mind about the story and raised concerns about its content, including the lack of responses from the relevant Trump administration officials. But networks like CBS sometimes deliver taped programming to affiliates like Global TV in advance. That appears to be what happened in this case. The Friday version of the 60 Minutes episode was shipped to Global TV. Then a change order was sent out Saturday telling Global TV that a new version of 60 Minutes was being sent. The revised episode aired on Global TV's network Sunday night, but then the original Friday version of the show was posted on Global's TV app. While Global TV had removed the episode from their app, this segment has since been posted on social and digital media, a CBS News representative said. Paramount's content protection team is in the process of routine takedown orders for the unaired and unauthorized segment. CBS staffers who disagreed with the Weiss decision to hold the segment were thankful for the slip up. The inadvertent Canadian stream is, quote, the best thing that could have happened, a CBS News source told CNN on Monday evening, arguing that the Alfonsi piece is excellent and should have been televised as intended. People close to Vice have argued that the piece was imbalanced, however, because it did not include interviews with Trump officials. Now, according to what I've read and heard elsewhere, Trump officials were asked to comment on the story and chose not to. So here we have a situation where the person who pulled the story said the story needs to be pulled because these people weren't interviewed, and the people said, "Turn out, well, we tried to interview them, they declined." Well, I guess they're saying that you need to go try again, even though they said they didn't want to be part of it, or something. Um, uh, uh, Again, don't understand the logic here. Vice told staffers on Monday, quote, "We need to be able to get the principals on the record and on camera." However, in an earlier memo to colleagues, Alfonsi asserted that her team tried and their, quote, refusal to be interviewed was a tactical maneuver designed to kill the story. Well, of course, because if you have a news editor that says that we cannot air any stories if we don't get the principals on record and camera, and the principals who are asked to be invited to be on the record and on camera refuse, well, then you don't air a story. So then all you have to do is, if you don't want something to appear on the news, is just decline to comment on it as an official, and therefore it doesn't make it onto the news because there's no clip of you speaking to it. My, how convenient. At the end of the segment that streamed on Global TV's platform, Alfonsi said Homeland Security declined our request for an interview and referred all questions about CCOT to El Salvador. The government there did not respond to our requests, and I saw the portion of it. It's about 13 minutes and 45 seconds. I don't know if it's the whole segment or if it was just a portion of it, but that's all that's available. And in there, I was shocked, incredibly shocked by how proud the people at CCOT and the staff that are working for it, why not, how proud they are of just how horrible they are to people. It's a point of pride for them, all the ways that they have to torture people. Right? Welcome to hell. You will never see the light of day again. You will never see, and just making situations uh, absolutely horrible. We're talking about physical abuse. We're talking about sexual abuse. We're talking about humiliation. We're talking about proven torture techniques. We're talking about cells that have cots 4 high with many people in them. We're talking about confinement areas that are just just have a slab of concrete to lie down on. Uh, no blanket, no bedding, no mattress, no nothing. We're talking about places that have the lights on 24/7 a day, which makes it hard to sleep and can make it hot. We're talking about people not getting meals, people not being fed, people not getting medication, people not being given access to water, and saying that if they're thirsty, well, then maybe they should just drink the water that's there, like from the toilet and whatnot, which is like dirty and unsanitary and all that kind of stuff. Um, but some of them are even being told, "I'm not feeling good." Oh, well, just drink some and have some water. That'll make you feel better. When the water is just, it's literally a center of depravity and violence, and these are human beings doing this to other human beings. And in this particular case, it's the government of the United States of America sending people who have absolutely no criminal records whatsoever to these places. Sometimes they have some criminal records. Some of the records could be just their immigration violation, but no violent crime. Right? We keep on told that we're sending the violent criminals down there. Is what they keep on telling their American citizens. But that's not who they're sending down there. They're just, if you're Venezuelan, if you got a tattoo, you go. Is what it seems to be here, and they're sending them there so that they could have the absolute worst things that people can do to each other happen to them there. And they're all proud of it. Unbelievable. The segment included sound bites from President Trump and Homeland Security Secretary Kristi Noem, and they showed also her. There's this famous picture of her where she's standing in front of a cell, and you see a whole bunch of people uh, behind her in the cell. Um, and she's dressed in her cosplay sort of uniform, and pretending that she's doing uh, these absolutely she's doing this absolutely fantastic work. Um, they are being absolutely and keeping Americans safe. And here I will show you actually uh, that picture that's there because she got a lot of publicity uh, for having done this. Come on, computer, let's go. And yeah, here's the picture there. As you can see, kits and cubs uh, from the safety of her side of the wall talking. You will see all these people. So the cell's overcrowded. You can see the MSUs, right? Uh, This is these. She's out there telling Americans that these are the people that they are deporting. These are El Salvadorians. These are not the Venezuelans that they are capturing and shipping there. The group of people that she's posing in front of are an entirely different group of people. So, I mean, they are outright just lying and manufacturing the version of reality that they are telling um, the people. And I do not know where I've disappeared to. There we go. Okay. That's how long it has taken for things to transfer. So, yeah. Um, these people are so eager to do bad things, terrible things, inhumane things uh, to fellow human beings. They can't do it fast enough that they trip over themselves and they become sloppy. And you get situations like this where stuff that they don't want to come out comes out anyway. It's just incredible here. Um, Tonight, you'll hear from some of those men. Alfonsi said in her intro, they described torture, sexual, and physical abuse inside CCOT, one of El Salvador's harshest prisons, where they say they endured 4 months of hell. The torture was never ending and terminable, said Luis Munoz Pinto, one of the former detainees interviewed by Alfonsi. Quote, there was blood everywhere, screams, people crying, people who couldn't take it and were urinating or vomiting on themselves. Alfonsi also interviewed a representative of Human Rights Watch, which published an 81-page report in November about abuses at the prison. In a memo to colleagues on Sunday saying that Weiss has spiked the story, Alfonsi asserted that it was done for political, not editorial reasons. Philippe Bollon-Pion, executive director at Human Rights Watch, told CNN that Alfonsi's allegation was troubling, quote, especially in light of pressures on press freedom in the U.S. We look forward to the segment airing, Bollon-Pion said. The evidence is clear regardless of what airs on 60 Minutes. The Trump administration disappeared these Venezuelan men into a mega prison in El Salvador where they were systematically tortured. And again, when I say they're proud, the people in El Salvador who are running this prison allow influencers to come in and film videos and whatnot so that they can show people what it's like in there. There's even segments of that in the clip, in the 13-minute clip or about 14-minute clip. Um, they are proud of it. They want people to come and see and tell the whole world about how terrible things are there. So they are literally proud of having created this incredibly awful environment. It it is astounding. It throws me. It truly throws me. Okay, a couple of other things before we go. There will be a sigh of relief throughout Canada as, according to the Canadian press, announced that Canada Post and the union representing the workers a tentative agreement to not strike. Agreements announced Monday cover both the urban postal operations and rural and suburban mail carrier bargaining unions. CUPW's national board recommends members accept the deals during ratification votes set to be held in early 2026. Canada Post said the deals include a 6.5% wage increase in the first year, followed by a 3% hike in the second year, and increases matching the annual inflation rate in years 3 through 5. They also include enhanced benefits and a weekend parcel delivery model. Both agreements would be in effect until January 31st, 2029. These outcomes reflect the strength and solidarity of postal workers, W National President Jan Simpson said. In the face of extraordinary challenges, we stood together, secured meaningful improvements, and pushed back on significant rollbacks. The Monday announcement comes after the Canada Post and CUPW announced a deal in principle in November, while the union retained the right to strike at that time and the union while the union retained the right to strike at that time, the union and the Crown Corporation now say they've agreed strike or lockout action will not take place during the ratification process. The parties have also finalized contractual language for the collective agreement, according to Canada Post, as part of this next step. If the agreements are finalized in the new year, it would cap off more than 2 years of labor strife between the ailing Crown Corporation and its largest union, which represents about 55,000 workers. The two sides have sparred over wages and structural changes to the Postal Service's workforce, including proposals to introduce more part-time workers and 7-day-a-week delivery. Postal workers have taken to the picket line on multiple occasions in the bargaining process, including with the strike ahead of the holidays last year that upended parcel delivery during peak season. Canada Post has been in dire financial straits for years. Its most recent quarterly report in November included a $541 million before tax loss, the largest in its history. It received a $1 billion federal loan in January that was meant to carry it through next March, but the carrier now expects it to run out by the end of the year. Oh boy, that's something, eh? Let's see, what else do we have uh, today here? Oh, is this new? Oh, well, this is a new piece that wasn't there before we started the show. But this is a follow-up or more on on something that we had stated before about the interim budget officer. This is the Canadian Press that states it. Says Jason Jakes said he learned a lot about the importance of choosing his words carefully in his first few months as the interim parliamentary budget officer. His whirlwind ascent from obscure bureaucrat to high profile thorn in the Liberal government side began in late last summer when outgoing budget officer Yves Giroux's term was set to end without a formal successor in place. Tapped over Labor Day long weekend to step into the role for a 6 month term, Jakes quickly made waves among parliamentarians and the media with his blunt assessment of Ottawa's fiscal management. After Jakes released a fiscal forecast in September, he told MPs on parliamentary committee that the current state of federal finances was unsustainable, shocking, and stupefying. Politicians and pundits seized on Jake's comments ahead of Prime Minister Mark Carney's hotly anticipated first federal budget in November. The Conservatives held up his words as proof of the Liberals' reckless approach to spending. But in a year end interview with the Canadian press earlier this month, Jakes said he would not have used those words if he could rewind the past 3 months. Quote, "It was totally unnecessary," he said. "People make mistakes, and again, for myself, it was a learning opportunity." Before stepping into the interim budget officer role on September 3rd, Jakes was a mainstay of the office. He was recruited in 2008 by inaugural PBO Kevin Page. Page, now head of the Institute of Fiscal Studies and Democracy at the University of Ottawa, publicly disagreed with Jakes, warning that Ottawa's finances were headed towards a precipice. He argued in a Public Affairs magazine piece published on October 14th that while Carney's government fiscal pivot was a big swing, its ambition matched the challenge posed by U.S. trade aggression. The Liberal budget tabled on November 4th posted a sizable deficit of $78.3 billion for this year, with steep but shrinking deficits over the horizon. It was presented as a generational investment plan to boost Canada's productive capacity and reduce its economic reliance on the United States. Jakes said in his budget analysis that while the projections for the federal finances appear sustainable in the long term, he believes the Liberals are unlikely to meet some of their new fiscal objectives. In the interview, he acknowledged it's possible the economy surges as a result of the Liberals' economic pivot to the point where Ottawa's fiscal position is greatly improved in the years to come. But he also warned that if Carney's move to ramp up capital investments doesn't pay off, those higher spending levels will undermine the Fed's capacity to absorb the next economic shock. Conceptually, all of it works, Jake said. The trick really ends up being on the execution. Before stepping into the spotlight in September, much of Jake's experience in the PBO involved in explaining his financial analysis to parliamentarians in their offices or to reporters over coffee. While those kinds of conversations don't make headlines, they help to impart a general understanding of highly technical fiscal policy. Jake said he realizes the words he'd sometimes use in those meetings when he was trying to describe the big picture to someone without an accounting degree aren't necessarily the right ones for the spokesperson of the PBO office to use. Quote, "I'm familiar with the words shocking and stupefying, and in my personal life, I might use those words. I have a lot of personal opinions that are completely irrelevant to the job I'm doing, and in many situations are really unhelpful," he said. Jake said he does not believe the PBO is supposed to be a critic or even a watchdog, as the office is often described by the media. The Parliamentary Budget Office, he said, is meant to give an objective view of the government's finances to strip the politics out of the numbers. He said he believes his role is to give parliamentarians a confident grasp of the figures so they can ask informed questions of the government. Quote, "It's a very political environment, and if I'm not careful with my language, there's a risk that it will be politicized, and that's not helpful for anybody," Jakes said. If your accountant is using language or objectives that are giving you pause or catching your attention, it's probably not a good sign overall. The Liberal government issued a posting for the full-time permanent PBO position in November. The successful candidate must secure parliamentary approval before beginning a 7-year term. The permanent job posting says the successful candidate must have, quote, "tact and discretion." Jake says he doesn't think that phrasing was targeted at him. It was. He points out the previous posting from 2018 also included that language. Yes, but it was. While Jakes has committed to applying for the permanent gig, he said he would be surprised to land it. The permanent role has never gone to someone within the office in the PBO's history, he noted. For now, he said he's working on ensuring the office maintains its reputation as a source of objective analysis of fiscal policy for MPs and senators from any party. Jake says he owes it to the people working in the budget office and whoever assumes the mandate after him to leave the role in a respectful position. He said that after his interim term wraps up in March, he expects to continue the work he believes in, breaking down the state of parliamentary finances for people who rely on the budget office. "Regardless of the role that I play or the title that I have, I want to continue doing that," he said. So there you go. Again, a little lesson in humility. At least he's learned it. Um, it might not serve him immediately in his career, especially if he does not get the position. But hey, it's good to see that he has taken the note, and he's still young enough that this certainly won't be the last opportunity in his career to get a major promotion. But still, uh, a lesson that needed to be learned here. Um, all right. I think might be all I have today, kids and cubs. I think we're getting a little long on time. And as you can see, I am having a little bit of difficulty uh, with the reading and not making mistakes or tripping over my tongue here. It's been particularly challenging today to be able to try and deliver the show in a manner that is consistent with the quality that we keep on trying to deliver. So I personally apologize for my subpar performance today, but I know that you, kids and cubs, will be delightfully understanding and warm and appreciative, as you always are, uh, no matter um, how I can't find what the appropriate word is, but no matter how unlike my usual self, let's put it that way, I am on a given day. And trust me, that makes it such that even when I know I'm not at my best, it gives me the confidence to come out and do a show for you anyway, um, because I know that you are very appreciative of all the efforts that we make in order to bring content to you. All right, kids and cubs, that's the end of this episode of the Daily Beaver Morning Show. We hope that you love listening to us because we love making this for you. Remember, sharing is caring and word of mouth is priceless. So please tell your peeps and poops all about us. It really means the world to us when you do, especially when you share why it is our content resonates with you. Means the world to us. So thank you. We cannot buy that type of advertising. Kids and Cubs, if you would like us to help you and you are busy and on the go, please, thanks to the Ray Girl who sponsors our pod page. Go there, scan this QR code, podpage.com/the True North Eager Beaver with the hyphen between each one of those words. And when you go there and click subscribe, when we have something fresh off the podcast bandwidth, it comes directly to you. And that way you can take us with you. We are lightweight and portable. You can take on the day and remain informed at the same time. If you would like to help us, kids and cubs, you can do that by going to the True North Eager Beaver Media Incorporated YouTube page and clicking on our buttons like, share, and subscribe. The QR code that just appeared in the top corner there will bring you right there. Kids, Elaine, and Cassie would definitely approve with you smashing with our buttons. And if you are watching live, remember, if you smash now, you don't have to remember to do it before you leave. Make us happy. Give us a little tickle. Yes, it's a good thing. And if you would like to help us in other ways, kids and cubs, we do incur some costs to bring this show to you, and we are nearing the end of the year. So if you would like to help us with our good fortune as the year comes to an end, we would be grateful for that assistance. That QR code that just appeared will bring you to our coffee page. That's coffee, ko-fi.com/eagerbeaver, all in one word. And there you will find the Emergency Hydration Fund, which is our tip jar, where you can do your bit to fight the scourge that is dry beaver. Absolutely. Oh, yum, yum. Tasty, tasty, tasty. So please fill our cup. Couple of toonies or loonies from you makes us very happy, and it helps us, like I said, with all the costs we incur to bring this show to you. Thank you so much for your enthusiastic expressions of encouragement. Now, kids and cubs, if you are doing the Buy Canadian thing, truenortheagerbeaver@gmail.com is our email address, and you can send us a direct bank transfer that keeps your transaction entirely Canadian, and the US CE Tech Bros do not get a percentage of your donation, don't get a cut. In fact, the cut that they would get comes to us as well. So therefore, we get more of your donation. It goes further. So that's how you can be patriotic and support your favorite beaver and grizzly at the same time. It's wonderful. Win-win. How can you lose? Hmm? Now, if you're not able to contribute financially, kids and cubs, don't worry. TrueNorthEagerBeaver@gmail.com is where you can also write us to let us know what you think about the show, good, bad, or ugly, or if you have some guest suggestions, we would be very happy to hear them and follow up on them as we can. So thank you for all of your support. And if you are trying to reach us on our socials, at True Eager at the Blue Sky Beaver Lodge, also on the Jitter, True North Eager Beaver on our Facebook page. And if you are watching on our YouTube channel, right down here, there's a comment section that you can let us know what you think. We do read everything, even though we're not able to get back to you on everything. And everything that you contribute, either financially or in word, does get rolled back into the show in order to make it better. And we thank you for all of your contributions. Because democracy is something that you do, kids and cubs, we have House of Commons petition E6821 to encourage House members to table a bill that would make it such that Canadian journalism, Canadian media entities would be owned by Canadians, operated by Canadians, and producing news that is in the best interest of Canadians. So please, we can use your signature on that. I will include the link here in the chat for the kids and cubs. There you go. So you can share that, kids and cubs. And we are at 772 signatures. We need to make that grow. So please share that with your family and friends and get them to sign too. All right. Words of wisdom. Kids and cubs. Whew. Words of wisdom. I don't know if I've got any. I'm just going to say, if you are under the weather, plenty of rest, plenty of liquids. And if you have the time to take time for self care, please do, as I have been doing. And hopefully I will continue doing that. I'm reaching the end of my resources here. As you can tell, I'm fading as I'm trying to do the extra here. But yes, those are my words of wisdom. If you're feeling a little under the weather, do take some time for some self-care. All right. Could be a tough world out there, kids and cubs, so please be kind to and gentle with yourself. And now, if I may ask you, kids and cubs, for a little audience participation on the count of 3, could you please say, Mr. Beaver, please cue the cock on 1, 2, and 3. Ah, yes, kids and cubs. I hear you. Even though, yeah, words of wisdom, stop losing your important possessions. Well, I'm not so much losing them as I'm just temporarily misplacing them. Then they're finding their way back to me. But yes, Kitlinda, note taken. My words of wisdom would really be is to have less on your plate, so that you can have time to actually have a clear mind, so that you don't keep on losing your possessions. But I see you, Kit Linda. I see you. Okay. I won't ask you to tell me to cue the cock again, because you have done it. And even though I have not done it on command, I still remember that you have asked for it. And because you have asked for it, while offering me some wisdom of your own, actually, that I very much appreciate, I must then fulfill, Kits and Cubs, said obligation to you by giving you that for which you have so kindly requested. You are listening to a True North Eager Beaver Media Incorporated podcast. The True North Eager Beaver podcasts are proudly brought to you by our founding sponsors, the Misfit Mysteries from Corvid Moon Publishing, your source for science fiction, fantasy, and cozy mysteries featuring a broad diversity of characters, CanadianTarot.com, their uniquely Canadian online eclectic tarot community, and the Peppermaster, hot pepper sauces made from farm-fresh ingredients to thrill your taste buds and expand your mind. We are grateful to the Crier Media Network for its support, Pete Jarvis for our artwork, and Paul Joseph Something for our opening and closing sequence music. I have no idea. I'm back. This is really weird. Okay. Everything seems to be delayed. A couple of here at my end. Odd indeed. All right. Canadians who make us proud. This is a suggestion by Kit Lin, and this comes to us from CBC News' Pratyush Dayal. Have you ever tried to stack bottle caps? Against those shaking odds, a Windsor, Ontario teenager has earned himself a Guinness World Record for the most bottle caps stacked in 30 seconds using chopsticks. That's under the 16 years old category. I didn't. There's a world record for this. Quote, I didn't even know how to use chopsticks. A few days turned into a few weeks. From the beginning, it was very, very difficult for me. So I just kept practicing. My determination really helped, Daniel Joseph Ireneo told CBC News on Sunday. The 14-year-old said he got the idea from the Guinness World Record 2020 book his mom gifted. The most plastic bottle caps stacked in a tower using chopsticks in 30 seconds is 23, achieved by Silvio Saba in Italy in 2018. Ireneo stacked 12 caps in 30 seconds on August 13th, just a couple of days before his birthday. From 3 caps stacked to 5 to finally 12 in the towering column, Ireneo said it took hours and weeks of relentless practice to first build a strong foundation. Once he mastered that skill, the next Herculean task was to improve the speed. Quote, I never knew that I would be a Guinness World Record, he said. Keep on going, have determination, because you never know where it might take you. The grade 9 student at St. Joseph's Catholic High School, also popularly addressed as DJ, said he could not have accomplished this without the support of his parents. He said there were times he had thought to call it quits, but his parents kept inspiring him. DJ said he is looking forward to sharing the news with his peers on Monday. His mother, Vivian Ireneo, still remembers the August late night when, after coming home tired from work, she was asked to videotape DJ's efforts. I said, DJ, it's okay, just give up. But he said, Mom, no, I will never give up. I will do my best. And then when he did it in 30 seconds, I was overwhelmed. I don't know how to say. I'm still speechless, she said. And I am going to show you a picture here because this very, very, very proud mama and papa. So let's show that to you. Mama is practically jumping out of the picture, beaming with pride here. This is absolutely fantastic. I love that. I love that a lot. Oh, that makes me so happy. Okay, let's see, what else does it say here. Ireneo said her son kept practicing after school and always that practice will make it perfect. In turn, I told him all the time, put your feet on the ground, just be humble, she said. Our family in the Philippines is also rejoicing at his win. Madeline Butak, his aunt, said she was surprised at the young teenager's persistence and triumph through it all. Quote, I'm happy for DJ. We're always supportive. He's a good example for young kids to start doing things, not just video games, something which is worth trying and rewarding for them and builds more discipline. The family said it is very proud of the teenager's hard work paying off and hopeful great things follow. As for the young champion, it's a lesson to propel him further sorry. As for the young champion, it's a lesson to propel him further to his full potential, dreams of becoming a doctor. Quote, most people and their success story, they just show you the good parts, but you never know the struggles they took, the dedication. So never give up. Struggle is important. Huh? You know what? There's some words of wisdom for you. Struggle is important. There you go. Be for the struggle because you never know what benefits it might yield. All right, kids and cubs, that's I got for you. Amour et bisous. And we will see you tomorrow. And hopefully, I will be in even better health than I am today. And with that, I am gone.